Now, other interesting business news, you have General Motors bringing back the Bolt, which, maybe you're asking why. Well, let's dive in a little bit. Now, they actually discontinued that vehicle, and it was hilariously best known for bursting into flames, which you could blame the lithium ion battery manufacturer supplier or GM's integration with the technologies coming together. But at the end of the day, that was a pretty big recall where I remember I went to a tech conference and they actually had little disclaimers on the parking lot saying you can't park a Chevy Bolt here because there's a current recall because they could literally burst into flames, which some would argue gas cars do as well. I would argue it's not as hazardous. It's not as hazardous or deadly since pretty much any fire department can put out a gasoline fire. Lithium ion, that's where you need much more expensive tools and usually just totals the car completely. But I digress. It looks like this new Chevy Bolt will feature a Ultium battery technology, and CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, said that the Bolt's popularity, including quote, I'm sorry, this is a serious quote actually. Mary Barra said, quote, some of the highest customer satisfaction and loyalty scores in the industry, unquote, when asked for a reason of why are you bringing this back after you originally planned to discontinue it. And they actually announced they're going to continue it last year because of the old legacy battery technology and design. So it sounds like it'll be interesting how many body panels and components transition to the old model to the new model, or if they're really just bolting on new batteries into it because they have new technologies. And they also claim that they reported a 25% surge over the past year, and they boosted their profit outlook for this year. And they also, again, plan to cut $1 billion in fixed cost. And they're trying to reduce costs because customers, of course, have unprecedented amounts of inflations and ridiculously high interest rates. Now, the devil's in the details. There are a lot of things that are going to bite GM in the ass. One of the most concerning things is the contract of the United Auto Workers. When you look at why GM's gone bankrupt throughout history, and they have multiple times, one of the largest costs is labor. That's artificially inflated compared to the free market because of the unions. I remember back in 2008 when they were talking about that bankruptcy, they had someone putting tires on a car getting paid $68 per hour because they're in the union. Keep in mind, they're using a machine to lift the tires. So they're not even lifting the tire and sweating. They're using a machine to lift the tire and then to actually have a machine with 5 of little drill bits, or I guess socket wrenches, or sockets in this case, actually secure the tire to the vehicle. So this person's it's a very rudimentary position and job, and it's one of the reasons they went bankrupt. It's one of the reasons, on average, they've done multiple studies, cars manufactured by unions cost an average of, I believe, $1,800 per vehicle or more compared to ones not made by a union. There's also quality issues. You look at the best quality vehicles on the planet, they're all made by the private sector without union interference. Look at Tesla. They're the number one car in North America in terms of made in the USA. They had 4 out of the 10. They don't have unions. They have employees who are driven to have the best product and to put out the most products because they get stock options if they choose to invest that. And you also have Honda. That was the second most in terms of having the most numbers of the top 10 made in the USA with cars.com. Honda and Acura, which they are both not unionized. Think of other successful automotive companies. You have Toyota, which they also own Lexus. They're not unionized either. It's one of those instances where one bad contract is going to tank all the competitive advantages they think they have now. And when you have 40-year hyperinflation, and you have these interest rates through the roof, that's a double whammy, hurting the consumer, giving them less and less and less incentive to purchase a new vehicle. That being said, new vehicles are also getting more and more expensive, more complex, and with EVs, you don't even own the dang thing. It's like a smartphone. You own the hardware, not the software. You can't work on it on your own. It's not going to last you a quarter of a century like a Toyota Corolla will, which traditionally Toyota Corolla, actually not traditionally, they are the best-selling vehicle in history by number of units sold. And it's just a straight-up internal combustion engine. They last a quarter of a century to 1 million miles. Where the current technology we have, that's not going to happen. Another issue that the UAW is opposing is EVs in general. EVs, by their very nature, do have less components to them. They have more complex components, but the overall number is decreased. You need less low-skill labor to make an EV vehicle. The UAW is opposing that fervently because they know, on average, it's going to be less jobs. It'll be less jobs to create a EV vehicle. You'll need more software jobs, true. So I always debate how many jobs are really overall lost versus created. But UAW is really going to push back against General Motors, and they're already pushing back against Ford. So the contract negotiations are right around the corner. So I'd be very skeptical if I was an investor, either if I was buying, selling, or holding with their stock. Is this Bolt really going to save the day? Is it going to be a band-aid fix? What price point does GM have to hit to be competitive against Tesla? No one's going to buy if it's more expensive than a Tesla, I wouldn't think, unless they get the friends and family discount because they work at General Motors. So I'm very skeptical to see how many people adopt a newer Bolt when there are more and more EVs in the market and there's more and more competition on the market. Will be interesting to see, but time shall tell. As GM also just killed the Camaro. So the Camaro sales this year are 150% compared to last year. And it's going to be the last year for the good old-fashioned V8 and V6 and internal combustion engine Camaro. It's one of the last vehicles to actually sell the stick shift, which is the best experience you can have, bar none, with a vehicle. Also known as having 3 pedals. It's something I implore everyone to experience before it's too late. Next year, apparently GM is going to make the Camaro as a 4-door EV sedan. Now, I am not Nostradamus, nor I cannot predict the future. However, when it comes to that particular idea, I would say outlook not so good. But who knows? Maybe they'll turn things around. Maybe the Bolt will be a huge success, and maybe if they decrease the cost enough and they increase the value enough, it might be more profitable for the company. Time, as I always say, shall tell. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers, so in the next couple of 30 days. So I really appreciate everyone taking the time to subscribe. Also, don't forget to like and comment. Those things also greatly help the videos get shared more often. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies, heck, tell your coworkers again, tell your enemies again. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.